Hey, I'm sorry for the weird angle and the awful lighting conditions. The reason I'm at this angle is to at least try and mitigate the lighting somewhat. The sun is at a very awkward position, but I'm just trying to do this now because, well, I could wait to record this video when the light is a tiny bit better. This is something I really want to share because I'm very excited for it. It's going to be one of a kind of video I'm going to do every so often on my channel, where I'll be giving multiple facts in one video because a lot of facts that I want to share couldn't be stretched out to their own video. So this is a way to sort of get a bunch of them out there. And what I'm going to do today is go through every number from 1 to 50, every whole number. And for each of those numbers, I'm going to tell you a fact that somehow involves that number. Alright? So get ready for these 50 facts about these 50 numbers. Starting, of course, with number 1. The number 1 is its own square, its own square root, its own factorial, its own cube, and its own cube root. Number 2. The number 2 is the only even prime number, since every other even number can be divided by 2, meaning they wouldn't be prime. 3. There are 3 primary colors: yellow, blue, and red, and they're called the primary colors since by mixing them in some combination you can get every other color visible to humans. 4. The first commercial 4D movie, a movie that involves more sensory experience than just seeing the screen, was a movie known as The Sensorium, first played in the Six Flags theme park. 5. The legendary composer Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart wrote his first musical composition at the age of only 5 years old. 6. A typical guitar will have 6 strings. And a 6-string guitar known as the Reach Out to Asia Stratocaster, a one-of-a-kind guitar that was sold at auction to raise money for victims of an Asian tsunami, was sold at auction for $2.8 million. 7. There are supposedly 7 colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. But actually, indigo and violet were just thrown in there by physicist Isaac Newton when he was defining his color theory, because he wanted there to be 7 colors since 7 was an important number for him. 8. Stop signs are an octagon, an 8-sided polygon, and they're made that way so they're very easy to recognize from the back. 9. A Beatles song called Revolution 9, a soundscape of sorts, became part of a large-spanning conspiracy theory when viewers listened and realized that if you played it backwards, there was a line that sounds like "Turn Me On, Dead Man," which became part of a huge conspiracy theory that Beatles member still alive, Paul McCartney, was killed and replaced by an imposter. Number 10. Most people have, of course, 10 digits on their hands, 10 fingers, but polydactyly, the condition where one has extra fingers, actually is not that rare, occurring in around 1 in every 1,000 births. Number 11. The $1 coin in Canada, known as the loonie for the loon in the front, is 11-sided. 12. A dozen, 12 of something, is an extremely old form of measurement, which possibly goes back to ancient humans using it to measure the approximate 12 cycles of the moon per 1 cycle of the sun. 13. Friday the 13th is often considered an unlucky day because on the Last Supper there were 13 people in attendance, and Jesus was crucified the next day, a Friday. Friday the 13th. 14. While 13 is often considered the unlucky number by many superstitious people, in China, 14 is the unlucky number because in Chinese, 14, 14, sounds very similar to the Chinese for phrases like is dead, 14, and apologize if I mispronounced anything. 15. In Hebrew, the number 15 is spelled differently than all the other numbers, because 15, how it should be spelled, Yod 10 Hey 5, is a shortened name for God in Judaism. So instead, 15 is written as Tet 9 Vav 6. 16. Since a healthy adult should get around 8 hours of sleep per night, it also means that a healthy adult should get around 16 hours of wake per day. 17. Pele, the famous soccer player, became the youngest soccer player to play in the World Cup when he played in the World Cup at only 17 years old, though his record has since been broken. 18. 18 is the age needed to vote in America, but it used to be 21. However, in the Vietnam War, when America would send kids of 18 years old off to fight in the war, outrage ensued because people were enraged that the US could consider someone too young to vote, but old enough to go fight in war. So the US lowered the age of voting to 18, and the drinking age followed the voting age. 19. In the infamous Salem witch trials, 19 women were hung for being guilty of being witches. Think about that. 20. In 2020, the Doomsday Clock, a clock that is used to visualize the proximity of humanity to extinction based on how close the time is to midnight, was at a mere 100 seconds to midnight, where it remains today, which has throughout history been the closest to midnight the Doomsday Clock has ever gotten. 21. In Blackjack, the card game where the aim is to get your cards to add up as close to 21 as possible and to get a higher number than the dealer, as close to 21 as possible without going over, there is a well-known tactic known as counting cards, in which the card counter will keep track using multiple algorithms of how favorable for them the cards left in the decks are. And while many people think counting cards is cheating and it's illegal, actually in many places, including Las Vegas itself, counting cards is not illegal. But since casinos are private businesses, the owners have a right to ask you to leave if they catch you counting cards, if they so wish. 22. $1 million cash in $100 bills would weigh about 22 pounds. So think about that next time you're watching a movie and someone's running around with a duffel bag of millions of dollars like it's nothing. 23. Legendary soccer player David Beckham, legendary basketball player Michael Jordan, and legendary hockey player Bob Nystrom all wore jerseys number 23 at some point in their career. 24. Carats are a measure of purity in many materials, including gold, and pure gold is 24 carats. 25. Manganese, the chemical with the atomic number 25, is one of the chemicals that can be used to make steel products into stainless steel products. 26. John Wilkes Booth, the infamous man who assassinated President Abraham Lincoln, was himself killed at the age of 26. 27. There is an infamous list known as the 27 Club, which includes an intriguing number of famous people who died at the age of 27, including Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Amy Winehouse, and many more. 28. February, the shortest month with just 28 days, becomes 29 days on leap years because it is used to correct the slight extra time buildup that happens because the Earth doesn't actually orbit the sun at exactly 365 days per year. 29. Speaking of leap years, if you happen to be born on February 29th on a leap year, the day when you become 1 year older legally is often considered March 1st on non-leap years and February 29th on leap years. So they're the only people whose birthdays actually change on different years. 30. About 30% of the Earth's surface is land. The rest is water. 31. Adding up the first 31 prime numbers will result in 31 squared. 32. An adult human should have 32 teeth. However, the wisdom teeth, the back molars, named so because they come later in life, as wisdom apparently does, are often impacted or have trouble developing or bursting through the gums, so often they need to be surgically removed, as I had to deal with. 33. Arsenic, the chemical compound with the atomic number of 33, was responsible for groundwater poisoning in Bangladesh, which led many to call the Bangladesh arsenic water situation as the largest mass poisoning in history. 34. The famous Christmas film Miracle on 34th Street has been adapted so many times that it's now a good point of discussion among fans about which version is the best, and a point of pride if you have seen them all. 35. 35mm film was an extremely popular size of film, so much so that at various points it was the most popular size of film, period. And many films throughout history have been shot on 35mm film, including some legendary ones such as Streetcar Named Desire, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and Bonnie and Clyde, and more. 36. The sum of the digits from 1 to 36 is 666, an infamous satanic number. And the pentagram has interior angles of 36 degrees, an infamous satanic symbol. 37. 37 degrees Celsius is the average normal body temperature of a human. However, if you were to ever run a fever of about 108 degrees Fahrenheit, 42.22 degrees Celsius, you would die. 38. Roulette wheels in the US have 38 slots, and while roulette is often considered to be merely a game of luck, there are strategies that many people employ that can increase your odds. 39. In the Torah, Sanhedrin were councils that were appointed to cities to act as courts of sorts composed of rabbis. And when someone was sentenced to capital punishment by 40 lashings, they were really given only 39 lashes, since 41 was illegal. Anything more than 40 was illegal, so the people who did the lashing would often just go to 39 just in case they broke the law by miscounting one extra whip. 40. The number 40 is the only number that, when spelled out in English, is in alphabetical order. 41. The U.S.'s 41st president, George H.W. Bush, was one of the people who first signed the NAFTA agreement, known as the North American Free Trade Agreement, which helped to reduce costs of importing and exporting between the three North American countries. 42. Quite infamously, many people say and joke that the meaning of life is the number 42, which originated in the book Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, in which it was a joke. 43. The famous jazz funk band Level 42, with such hits as Something About You, sort of funnily has a song named 43. 44. Agent 44 was one of many special agents on the TV show Get Smart, a Bond-inspired parody series written by legendary comedy producer and writer Mel Brooks. 45. Donald Trump, the 45th President of the United States, was many things before the U.S. President, including businessman, professional wrestler, actor, writer, TV personality, and more. 46. The metal band Tool, of whom my favorite song is 46 and 2, went 13 years between their last two albums, which practically tortured fans. 47. Silver, the chemical compound with the atomic number of 47, is often considered a second best to gold. Second place in the Olympics is silver to the first place gold. It's used as an analogy for second place, but actually, on the surface, above ground, silver is rarer than gold. 48. An NBA game should be 48 minutes long, barring interruptions and overtime. However, a game between the Indianapolis Olympians and the Rochester Royals went into overtime 6 times, leading the game to end up being 78 minutes long. And it would be then a mere 18 minutes away from being 2 basketball games long, and it would become the longest NBA game currently in history. 49. The San Francisco football team is called the San Francisco 49ers because it's a reference to the people who originally came to Northern California in 1849 for the gold rush. Finally, 50. Okay, the United States has 50 states, but it's a very common misconception that many people have that there are 52 states, which there aren't. There's 50. And with that, You've just learned the fact involving every number from 1 to 50. So I'll leave you with one more thing. Subscribe if you like it, and have a nice day. Please.